boys and girls, we are going to continue fairy tales today. We are going to read another fairy tale. Some of you guys know very well, Beauty and the Beast. This is the real fairy tale, not the Disney version, so you will see some differences in this one today. Okay, now let's go over some elements of a fairy tale. Alright, now let's think about the fisherman and his wife and the emperor's new clothes. Okay. Both of those were fairy tales. Did either one of those begin with once upon a time? No, they did not. The emperor's new clothes did start out long ago in a faraway land, but it did not begin with once upon a time. Now, fairy tales often have royal characters. Who is the royal character in the emperor's new clothes? The emperor. Remember I said an emperor is like a king. Right? Who was the royal character in the fisherman and his wife? The magical fish. That's right. He was a prince. Alright. Fairy tales have magical characters or magical events. Are there magical characters or events in The Fisherman and His Wife? Yes, the fish was magical. Alright. He kept turning things or changing things for the fisherman's wife. He changed the hut into a cottage and then into a castle. He changed her into a queen, right? Was there any magic in the emperor's new clothes? No. They pretended that there was magic, but there was no real magic. Okay, and so far, has either one of our fairy tales had a super happy ending? Not really. Okay, in the emperor's new clothes, what happened to the emperor? Yes, he was embarrassed because he didn't have any clothes on. He just had on his undergarments, right? So he was embarrassed because no one would admit that they couldn't see the clothes. And then in the fisherman's wife, the fisherman and his wife, she didn't really get what she wanted. Everything got turned back. But she was actually happier before, so maybe she was. But we know that most fairy tales end with, and they lived happily ever after. And we think about these kinds of fairy tales. We like to think about the Disney type fairy tales like Beauty and the Beast, Cinderella. Can you think of any other fairy tales where they live happily ever after? Can you name any? Okay, we're going to keep going over some more. Well, today we are going to read Beauty and the Beast. We are going to read part of it today. So let's go over vocabulary for the part we're going to read today. All right, the first word, astonished. What word? Astonished. Astonished means amazed or surprised. Look at the man's face. Trent's baseball team was astonished by their big victory. Astonished. He's amazed, surprised, he's shocked. Astonished. What word? Astonished. The next word is fearsome. What word? Fearsome. Fearsome is an adjective. It's a describing word. It says causing fear or or very frightening. The tiger is one of the most fearsome animals in the jungle. Alright, so it's saying a tiger can cause you to fear. I wonder what will be fearsome in this story. We will find out. Fearsome. The next word is fortune. What word? Yes, fortune. Fortune is great wealth or riches. All right, look down here. Part of the king's fortune included castles, jewels, and very fine horses. All right, wealth doesn't always have to be money. It can be money. It can be other things that are worth money or value. So it's saying the castles are worth money, the jewels and jewelry's worth money, and the nice horses are also worth money. So anything that you have that's of value can be part of your fortune, what you're worth. All right, the next word is merchant. What word? Merchant. All right, a merchant is someone who buys and sells goods. The merchant had his own market to sell his goods. So a merchant is a person who buys things and then turns around and sells them. So they'll have a store or a stand. They'll buy things and then turn around and sell them to the public. Merchant. Okay, so now let's get started with our story. You're going to hear the first part of Beauty and the Beast. It is a classic fairy tale. So you are going to hear the whole once upon a time. You're going to have good versus evil. You'll have a royal character, magic, and you will have that happy ending we've been looking for. All right, so look at this first picture. All right, this doesn't look like the Disney Beauty and the Beast. Let's see what happens in this version. Once upon a time in a faraway country, there lived a merchant with his 3 daughters. The merchant was very rich. Indeed, he had more money than he needed, until a series of great misfortunes occurred. All right, so fortune means wealth, but it also means good luck. So what do you think misfortune means? He had some bad luck. First, the merchant lost 2 of his biggest ships full of cargo in a great storm at sea. Then he was forced to give up his big fancy home in the city because he could no longer afford to pay for it. The merchant lost his fortune and was left with nothing. He told his daughters they would have to move to a little cottage in the woods, far from town, and work hard and live simply. Now you imagine they're used to living in a big, big city in a fancy house. Look at these 2 daughters. How do you think they feel about living in a little bitty small house in the woods? Yeah, I can look at their face and tell they are not liking it. What about this daughter? She doesn't really look happy, but she doesn't look upset, right? Yeah. Well, the 2 older daughters complained bitterly. for they had grown accustomed to a life of luxury. But the youngest daughter, who was always called Beauty, tried to make the best of things. So which one do you think is Beauty? Yes, this is Beauty. And these are the two older sisters. So they're not happy at all because they're not able to be fancy and do their fancy things. But Beauty, she's trying to do the best she can with what she has. Several months later, the merchant heard that one of his ships that he thought had been lost had in fact landed with cargo of valuable goods. That means something he can sell. And if he could sell it, what could he get, guys? Yeah, if he could sell it, he could get some money. Okay, so he's going to go see if he can find that ship. As the merchant prepared to make the long trip to the city to claim his goods, he asked his daughters what he might bring them when he returned. The eldest daughter asked for a fancy gown. She's holding it out. She says, "Oh, I need a pretty new gown." The second daughter asked for a diamond necklace. But Beauty, who had plenty of things she wished for, but none that her father's money could buy, replied politely, "Please bring me a rose, for I have not seen one since we came here, and I love them so much." So, the oldest daughter wants a fancy dress. The middle daughter wants a what? A necklace. And what does Beauty want? A rose. She wants a rose. Why does she want a rose? She hasn't been able to see one, so she misses seeing one. All right. So now, of all the sisters, which one really, really, really cares about her dad and the money that he actually has? Yes, Beauty really cares. These two would like to spend Daddy's money, right? Well, when the merchant finally reached the ship, he found that most of the goods had been stolen. He sold what remained and made just enough money to buy a dress for his eldest daughter and a necklace for his second daughter. Then he set off for home. What did he forget? He forgot the rose for Beauty. On the way home, snow began to fall. It covered the road and made it hard to see. The wind blew so hard, it almost knocked the merchant off his horse. He was worried that he might get lost in the blizzard. So you can see by the picture, what is a blizzard? It's a storm of what, guys? It's a storm filled with snow. Well, the merchant decided that he should stop at the next house he came to and wait until the storm passed. Eventually, he came upon a large palace with lights blazing. He knocked, but no one answered. He found that the door was unlocked. So he opened it and peered in. "Hello," he called out, but there was no answer. He stepped into the foyer, or front hall, and brushed the snow off of his coat. curious, remember curious means wants to know more, yet hesitant, the merchant slowly made his way into a large dining hall. To his surprise, a fire was burning in the fireplace, and a little table had been set with a sumptuous meal, just right for one person. Now let's look at what's on the table. We see strawberries, bananas, oranges, grapes. We have a whole loaf of bread, chicken, potatoes, vegetables. He's got him something to drink and a refill. What would you say a sumptuous meal is? What do you guys think? Do you think that's like a snack or like a super great meal? Sumptuous means like a delicious, full meal. So he had this full, hot meal waiting on him, just like they were expecting him to come, right? Well, hello, he called again. Is anybody here? The merchant inspected the food. Remember, inspected means to do what? Checked it over, looked at it. Would you mind if I had a few bites? I've been riding in a bitter snowstorm. And, he continued, when there was no reply, the merchant decided that he would have a few bites of food and then look for his gracious host. After he had eaten, he set off to find the owner of the house to thank him. He wandered through the rooms on the ground floor, but neither master nor servant appeared. At last, he stepped outside into a beautiful garden. Let's look at the garden. Look at there, my pretty flowers matching in with the roses. Looks like it belongs in there. The merchant was astonished. He's amazed to discover that the garden was in full bloom, even though it was the middle of winter and most of the countryside was covered in a thick blanket of snow. All right, so look. Now he had to come in out of a blizzard, a snowstorm. There's snow everywhere, but look inside of this garden. Do you see snow on the ground? No. Is there snow covering the trees or the plants? No. We see snow up here, but none covering the fire, none covering the ground. We could probably say that this garden is what? This garden is magical or enchanted, right? Something special about this garden. In the garden, birds chirped, flowers bloomed. The air was sweet and balmy. That means, balmy means the air is warm and calm. Very different from what the storm was like outside. The man explored the garden until he came upon a row of beautiful rose bushes. He remembered that Beauty had asked him to bring her a rose. He reached out to pluck a rose, but just as the stem broke, he heard a large, loud roar behind him. "Who told you that you might gather roses in my garden?" said a low, gruff voice. The startled merchant turned around and saw a fearsome creature who was half man and half beast. So what's fearsome? The beast is fearsome. He's scary. There he is. "What?" said the beast. "It's not enough that I have given you dinner and a place to wait out the storm? You must also steal my roses?" "Please forgive me," said the merchant, falling to his knees. "I tried to find you to thank you for the meal. I will pay you for it, if you like. As for the rose, I only wanted it for my youngest daughter, Beauty. Her only wish when I left her was that I return to her with a rose. Your gardens are so magnificent, I did not think you would miss a single rose." "You are ready with excuses and flattery," Beast said, "but that will not save you from the punishment that you deserve." "Oh, forgive me," said the merchant. "If not for my own sake, then for the sake of my daughters. If I do not return home, there will be no one to support them or take care of them." There was a long pause. Then the beast spoke again. "I will forgive you," he said, "on one condition. You must send one of your daughters to live with me. Go and see if any of them are brave enough and loves you enough to save you from a life in my castle. If one of them will come, you may send her in your place. Otherwise, you must come yourself and face your punishment." So, what is the merchant going to have to do? Because he took the rose, he can either come and stay with the beast forever, or he's going to have to do what? Send one of his daughters. Well, that's a tough decision. What do you think he'll do? Let's find out. When the storm was over, the merchant returned home. He gave his daughters their presents: a gown for the eldest, a diamond necklace for the second, and a rose for Beauty. The older sisters were delighted, but Beauty could sense that something was wrong. "Father," she said, "why did you sigh so deeply when you gave me that beautiful rose?" "In a few days I will tell you," said the merchant. "But for now, let's enjoy being together again." So look at Beauty. She can tell that something is wrong with her father. How do you think Beauty feels? Yes, she's worried. Look at the other two sisters. Do they seem concerned about their dad? No, they're worried about the gifts that Dad give them. They are not worried about how he's feeling right now. So they are not concerned. All right, so let's think back about what we've read so far today. What happens to the merchant's family when he loses his fortune? When he loses all his money, his wealth, what happens to them? They have to move from the big city into a small cottage in the woods. All right, who are the people in the merchant's family? Now there's the merchant and his 3 daughters. There's the eldest or oldest daughter, the middle daughter, and the youngest daughter is named Beauty. That's the only one we know. The name of. All right. Now, why did the merchant stop at the beast's castle? Yes, he was trying to get away from the storm. What is the magical part of the castle? All right, it has something to do with the garden, we know, because the garden does not have snow in it. Everything is blooming in there, just like it's hot spring weather. Okay, how do you describe the beast? All right, the story says he is fearsome. Means he is scary. He looks like he's half man, half beast. Okay. Why is the beast angry with the merchant? He's angry because he took the rose. Do you think the beast's punishment is fair? Okay. Some of us may say, yes, he shouldn't have taken the rose. And some of us may say, no, I think that's hard because it shouldn't be that strict for just taking a rose. So it could be either way. That's your opinion. Okay. All right. Tomorrow we will finish part 2 of Beauty and the Beast and find out what happens when Beauty finds out.